Hello, wonderful fourth graders. Miss Richards here with our project for the rose window, Gothic rose windows. Right now for today, we're just going to do our design like we often do. We kind of study things, we learn about things, and then we work on a design. And then next week we'll do a bigger project with it. So let me walk you through the steps for how to design your rose window. You'll want a ruler. You'll want a piece of white paper, just a regular printer paper is fine, or if you have a sketchbook that you want to be doing these projects in, you can do that. A pencil, and then a plate or something else circular that isn't bigger than your page. And so when you put your plate down on your page, you want to make sure that you can fit the whole circle on your page, but you want to fill it up as much as you can to make your design as big as possible for the size paper you have. If you have a math compass, you can also use that to make your circle. But I think most kids will probably have something circular like a plate that they can trace, so we're going to use that for the example. Okay, so as we talked about, we're making a radial design, and it's going to be circular in shape, and it's going to be symmetrical from the center. We're going to make ours 8-way, okay, so an 8-way radial design, and we're going to make sure that each section of our 8 sections of our circle are all the same. And so the first thing to do is just put your plate on your page and trace it. Make your line nice and dark and make sure it goes all the way around. Okay, now we're not going to worry about being too precise or mathematical when it comes to making these sections, but the closer you can get, the better. So do try your very, very best to follow these instructions and get your 8 sections as close to the same as possible. So here's what we're going to do. I want you can even trace your finger along this line. And what you're looking for is the point where it's the farthest to the side, okay? The very, very edge of your circle. You can do that by kind of tracing and seeing where your finger is the farthest to the left. See here it's starting to go back, so we want to find a point here that's the very edge. You can also kind of move your ruler towards the circle, and the first place that it touches is going to be about your very edge. So we're going to guess that it's right there. Might it be a little bit off? Yeah, but that's okay, it's close enough, okay? Then you want to do the same thing for the other side. So you can move your ruler across your page and then see the last point that you can see before it disappears will probably be about your other edge, okay? Now what you're going to do is just line up those 2 dots with your ruler and make a line going straight across your circle. Now you're going to turn your paper the other way and do the same thing on this side. So kind of keeping your ruler straight, and you can kind of check it with the paper that appears off the other edge. Find that point where it's the first point to touch the ruler, and the same thing where it's the last part that's visible. And you can kind of put your head above and double check it. If you need to redo this a couple times, I feel like that one's a little low. You can stand straight above it and look down and kind of double check it. Okay, that looks good enough. If you need to pause right now because you want to restart yours because it didn't work out very well, or if you want to have a grown-up help you to do these divisions, you can go ahead and pause and restart it. Just flip your paper over and do it the other side. Remember, this is just the design phase, and so it doesn't matter too much if it's perfect, okay? Now, here's the important part, is this center dot. So make a nice big dot where your center is and just give it a double check. One way you can double check is you can put your ruler right where that dot is and go out and measure to the edge of your circle. This is just a little bit more than 4. Now, any way that you measure that, it should be about the same. So you can see that my circle is pretty close. It's not total perfection everywhere, but it's about 4 any way I put it. So I know that my dot is pretty well in the center. And once you're pretty sure that this dot is in the center, it makes it a little bit easier to do your other lines. Here's how you're going to do your other lines. Okay, so you're going to put your ruler starting where this cross touched on the edge and go to the other edge, and this involves a little math. You might want a grown-up to help you with this, but you can measure how long this is. So that's 5 and 1, 2, 3/4. Now to get half of that, half of 5 is 2.5, and half of 3/4 is about 1.5/4. So 1.5/4, that's about halfway on this line. That gets a little tricky, so if you want to measure this way, you might need a grown-up to help you, unless your number was nice and even. Like if from here to here was 6 for you, then you know 3 is right in the middle. And you can even kind of just fake a little bit on each side to get that easy number to divide. So this is a little less than 6, but if we just fake a little bit on both sides, then our 3 is still going to be right about in the middle. If you don't have a grown-up right here to help you find the center point between these lines, just take your 2 fingers from the 2 points that these connected with your circle and just kind of move them up and draw a little marker there, and then just kind of look at it and double check it. Is it about right? Just kind of eyeball it, and then once you have your dot either between these 2 points or on your circle, you're going to connect that dot with your center line and draw a line going all the way across. And you're going to do the same thing in your other section. This time I think I'm just going to fake it a little bit both ways. So a little bit over to the side here, a little bit over to the side here gives us 3 as a center point. And then I'm going to connect that center point with the center of my circle, this dot that everything is going to be based off of. And we have about 8 sections that are pretty close to the same. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so again, if you're feeling behind or feeling stressed out about this, don't worry about it. If it's not perfect, it's fine. If you can have a grown-up help you, that would be great. And you can pause the video until you get to this point where you have a circle with 8 sections in it. Okay, so once you've got your circle with your 8 sections, you're gonna start the design part, which is the fun part. Now, in the video that you watched where I was teaching you about rose windows, the last slide there was an example that has 8 different rose windows on it. So take a minute to remind yourself of that if you want to, or look at it again. And look at the elements that really appeal to you. Maybe you liked the one that looked like a sun. Maybe you want yours to look more flowery. A lot of the rose windows have a central element that covers all 8 of the sections. Oh, there's my cat, Zeno. Say hi to my cat. Zeno, you want to do art too? Okay, so if you want a central element that covers all 8 of the sections, that's fine, because let's say, for example, you make a circle and it covers all 8 of the segments. Is that symmetrical 8 ways? Yes, it is, because each piece is like a little wedge of, or a little slice of a pizza, right? And so if you repeat that on all 8 sides, in all 8 sections, then you get a circle that fills the whole thing. So for the center object, you can really just make a circle. You can make a rose shape. You can add like a little petal to each center thing. If you want to, you can make these more angular and have like a diamond shape coming out of each center. Whatever you choose that you want to do, this is your design, you can do. Just make sure that it's the same on every single piece of your 8. Now, I know I just told you, make sure it's the same on every single piece of your 8. Another option, if this part confuses you, just don't worry about it, but another option is to do every other one. So if you like, you can do a circle and then a pointy thing and then a circle and then a pointy thing. And if you, for example, if you were to erase the circle line and just leave it center point, or rounded pointy, you'd end up with a pretty neat little shape that goes like that. Again, I'm just going to start kind of showing possibilities. If you have a design in your mind, you make that, and think of your own ideas and think of your own ones that you were inspired by from our slideshow, and you do what seems best to you, because I want this to be your design. Okay, so a good place to start is this center element. Yours does not have to have a center element, but it makes it kind of an easy place to start. So I'm going to do just a circle on mine, and if you've done other things, that's great too. Make sure, remember, keep that 8-way symmetry, or at least 4-way symmetry. Okay, so as I'm looking at my examples, I'm thinking about shapes that I like. You can design just one of your pieces and then reflect that on every single one after that, or you can kind of work outwards and reflect it as you go and as you build it. I want something kind of floral and curvy, so I'm gonna do kind of a half teardrop shape on the upper corners of my design. And remember, this is design, this is not a finished product, so if you need to erase things, if you want to change things, if you want to draw something and then kind of sit back and think, is that the way I wanted it to be? Or is that symmetrical to the other one and you need to change it? That's what this time is for. So there's no mistakes at this point. We're just experimenting and playing around. Now I know as this reflects around, it's going to have this same element is going to be on each of my slices, and so I know that as it reflects around, this one's going to have the same thing, and it's also going to be here. And so what I'm getting as I reflect this around and show the radial symmetry is that I have kind of this cool water drop shape that's going to happen on each of my spokes. And so I can just kind of draw that on each of mine now. Now I don't want, when you guys, what I would love is if you guys send me pictures of the things you're working on at home. That would be super fun. You can have your grown-up help you go to the school website and look at the faculty directory and get my email. And I would love to see pictures of the artwork you guys have done, but I don't want to see 80 pictures of the same design, which is the design that I made. I want you guys each to make your own design and really surprise me with the beautiful things that you've done, okay? Okay, so I have circle, I have water drops. Let me think. What other elements of my rose window do I want to see? I might do a kind of diamond right in the center of my wedge. Now, I know that if I draw a diamond or any shape in the center of this wedge, what am I going to do next? I'm going to reflect it every time going around. And I want to make it as similar or the same as I can. So if it goes almost to the edge but not to the edge, I want to make sure that each of them do that, right? If the widest part of my diamond is about this this far out from the center, I want to make it that far out from the center on all of them, right? What if I made this diamond like that? Would that be very symmetric with this one? No, it wouldn't, because I want my diamond to reach its largest point up here, and I want it to reach almost to the edge of my circle, right? So as you go along making your design, keep double checking it and make sure that it's looking about the same as the other wedges. But you know, that little mistake I just made kind of inspired me because I kind of like how there's a smaller diamond inside my larger diamond. So maybe I'll experiment with putting that onto all of mine. You guys like the way that looks? Maybe some little mistake that you think you're doing on yours will end up being your favorite part. So don't be afraid to roll with a change of plans. Now I'd like to see designs that more or less fill the space pretty well. So I don't want to see too many huge empty areas. But that being said, we don't want to get too tiny and detailed with it either, because how we're going to do this project next time doesn't allow for tiny, tiny, tiny details. So make sure that there's at least like the width of your pencil space between your design elements. And don't make anything too tiny. Maybe we could add a circle inside each of our water drops. Kind of makes it look like a peacock tail or something like that. Okay, maybe you want to try more flower shapes. Maybe you really like the idea of the rose in the rose window and you want to put more flower shapes in the empty areas of your design. Maybe you want to do kind of a vine. So you could make a vine that kind of curves around. Now remember, if you do a vine here, and we want it to be radially symmetric, we're going to do the same thing on the other wedge of our, and this is actually a little bit of a tricky shape that or design that I've done to make this, whoops, see that's not right. We want to do that way and have it curl that way to be symmetric. Remember, you can imagine that there's a mirror that gets put up and you want this reflection to be the same as that reflection. And that's a good way to check if what you've done is symmetrical. Okay, and of course it could be any other thing you imagine. So you could do, instead of a diamond, what if you wanted to do more of a flower petal type shape? Anything that you guys imagine. I'm sure that the things that you guys are imagining and trying out are some things that I never could have thought of, and so I would love to see the things that you're doing. Okay, so you can divide up your areas into different shapes, again remembering not to make them too small, and you can try different things like I have, and then once you find a piece that you like and once you've kind of changed your elements around and settled on a design that you like, you can even start a fresh one and do them all the same. You can practice and refine this as much as you want to get your design done. And when we meet next week, when you're watching your video next week, I will show you the project that we're going to do with it. Okay, have lots of fun with this, my friends. Don't be afraid to make mistakes and fail. That's how we learn. That's how some of the most creative and exciting art is made, is by experimenting, making mistakes, making changes, taking those mistakes and turning it into something cool. So in a time when there's kind of, you know, lots of different things to worry about, this is art. Making art is a time when you can relax, you can have fun, and really just express those creative ideas you have and those thoughts that you have, and just try new things. So hope it was fun for you, and can't wait to hopefully see some of the stuff that you guys are doing. And I'll see you next week. Bye.